Dr. Chaos is a perfect example of 1987 Japanese console game design. It would be the dead center average game, and a perfect example of every trend that was occurring at that moment. Dr. Chaos is a game with a weirdly deep story. Going from a translation of the manual, 3 months had passed since his brother's final letter arrived. Michael was frustrated, waiting for another letter that never came. It's strange that it's taking this long, Michael thought. He waited another month, with still no contact. Something's wrong, Michael thought. My brother's a good man. I should have heard from him. Michael's older brother was Dr. Gene Chaos, a brilliant physicist researching space. His experiments were dangerous, though, and so they were conducted alone in a remote, distant location. Gene sent Michael reports once a month, and Michael always read them. Gene's last report said that he had succeeded in creating a hyperspace connection, and had begun to investigate how it affected living things. Michael traveled alone to his brother's laboratory. The lab was dark and silent, and as he approached, there was no sign of life within. Michael entered the house, and the only thing moving inside were the bats and mice. Lying on a desk near the entryway, Michael found his brother's diary, and at the end was written, "I have made a grievous error. I underestimated the impact of hyperspace on living things. By the time I realized my mistake, the creatures that had passed through hyperspace had undergone abnormal growth. The mansion is taken, and hyperspace is leaking throughout it. If you open the door, you will be attacked. I have created devices to try to bring the situation under control, but I don't even know if they'll work. Michael, if you read this, use these machines. Fix my mistake." Michael looked around, and there was no sign of the machines that his brother mentioned. The room was empty. Did the creatures from hyperspace take them? He had to stop this before anyone could get hurt. Michael drew his knife and threw open the door. Well, that is a lot of backstory for this game. The gist of it is that you're playing as Michael Chaos and have to find your brother Gene Chaos. You're searching his dark mansion laboratory, which has 4 stories and dozens of rooms. In the side-scrolling views, A jumps and B attacks, while select will rotate through available weapons. How do you get more weapons? Well, you're going to have to search those rooms. Hit up to enter any doorway, and it will switch to an adventure view. And here you're looking at one wall of a small room, with the same furniture repeated over and over again across all of them. There's a menu of commands on the right-hand side, and holding down B and pressing up and down will cycle through those. You've got open, take, enter, and hit. So primarily what you're doing is opening up everything in a room, hoping to find useful items. Sometimes when you open something, or change direction, a monster will jump out at you, and this ejects you from the room back into the hallway, where the monster chases, and you have to defeat them before you're capable of re-entering any room. Within the rooms, you can find potions that will recover your health, which has a maximum of 99 to start with. You can also find a handgun, which is going to be your bread and butter attack most of the time. While the shots are limited, there's enough of them that you can afford to use it, and the extra range and damage that it does are absolutely vital. The machine gun is the pistol, only rapid fire. It's rarer than the pistol, so you have fewer bullets, and strong enemies that take multiple shots to defeat are invincible for a short time after you hit them, so the machine gun really winds up not being worth it. The final weapon are grenades. These destroy all enemies on the screen, then you'll take quite a bit of damage when it goes off. On the adventure screens, the hit command can do a lot of different things, but mainly it's used for tapping on spots to reveal hidden items, or knocking a hole in the wall to reveal a hidden passage. That's how you reach the inaccessible parts of the mansion. Also, you can enter some furniture, and that will take you into those hyperspace regions. This will put you in a small side-scrolling area, and the goal here is to make it to the far right, where you'll enter a room with a boss. Bosses in Dr. Chaos have to be stabbed with the knife, and that can be pretty difficult while they're running around you. Defeat them and you'll get a useful device, like a machine that signals if there's a hyperspace tunnel around, or boots that will let you jump higher, or scuba gear to let you swim underwater. You can also get a part for a super weapon that has to be used to defeat the final boss. Fighting enemies in Dr. Chaos is annoying. While you do have invincibility frames after you get hit, monster movements are always to home in on the dead center of you, and they typically move as fast as you do. So getting hit once usually means you'll get hit repeatedly. They also just appear out of nowhere. Some of them always spawn in the same spot, but others will do things like drop in from the top of the screen at random points, or randomly swoop in from the side of the screen. It makes it pretty difficult to get a feel for avoiding them. You'll definitely want to use the gun more than the knife, just to keep your distance. And if you encounter a monster in a room, as soon as you pop back out into the hallway, take off running to a side. Hopefully, eventually the monster will reverse direction for an instant, giving you just enough time to attack them. When you do have all of your health knocked out, you're offered the opportunity to save your game. There's 3 save slots here, with nothing except the permanent upgrades you get from defeating bosses. That means you're going to spend a lot of time going in loops to the same rooms and collecting items where you know exactly where they are, then going back and trying your luck on that section you had trouble with again. Besides the problems with the combat, the platforming is also pretty rough here. This is one of those games where you have to make nearly every jump by going completely off the edge and then leaping. This is actually something fixed in the US version, which sped Michael Chaos up and made the whole game a lot easier. In Japan, Dr. Chaos seems to mainly be known for its creepy atmosphere. I found a few people mentioning that it scared them as children, but nobody seemed to actually like playing it that much. Dr. Chaos is a game with a lot of problems. None of them so atrocious that they completely sink the thing, but rough enough that you probably aren't going to want to go out of your way for it. It has a bad case of hit everything everywhere and take a pile of notes, something that you saw a lot of in games in 1987, and the action just isn't good enough to justify that kind of frustration. The US version does play a bit better, so maybe that's the way to go. But for the Disk System, I think I'd hold off on a visit to the Chaos family.